I just want to open up the lines again for our brother to talk about the film that he's made and to respond to the questions as they come in. Bringing you back, Brother Ronald Dalton Junior. Galaxy Afiwi, the only de-brainwashing station.
All right, so what I want to address is that people always want to attack the Bible and the stories. And they say, well, Egypt this, Egypt that. Okay, but when you look at the history, you'll see that, like I said earlier, you have a flood story myth in the Hawaiians called Nu, N-U-U, and the flood. You have the Australian Aborigine flood story. It's called the Argumana myth. You have the Chinese flood story myth. It's called the Fuhi family of the Miao tribes, which is the division of the Han tribe in China. You have the Yoruba Nigerian flood story of Ife, the Ili Efe, Obatala, the sky god. They have a flood story as well. This is in Nigeria. They have a different DNA than people in ancient Egypt. You have the Coxcox Aztec myth, the flood story from ancient Mexico. You have the Norse god, the blood flood of Ymir, the Norse mythology of the flood. You also have the Kulian and the Pyria Greek mythology of the flood. You also have the Egyptian flood myth about the Egyptian god Atum and Nun. You can read that in the book of Coming Forth by Day and the Book of the Dead. You also have the Babylonian tablets that talks about the flood story, the Epic of Gilgamesh with Uruk. You have the Akkadian tablets that talk about the flood story. You have the Indian tablets I talked about, the Indian flood story with Manu and the 8 people that survived on the canoe. You have the Sumerian flood story as well. You have the Buddhist tale of the merchants at sea flood story. You can look in India and Tibet and also in China. So you have the Quran flood story called the Nu from the Islamic Quran. You have the Hebrew flood story, the story of Noah, the Judeo-Christian flood story. So you got all these flood stories all across the world, and these people do not have the same DNA as the pharaohs of Egypt that you take out of the tombs in Egypt. As a matter of fact, when you look at a lot of the different gods of Egypt and you say, well, you know, the Christianity, pre-Christianity plagiarized the Egyptian texts and everything, and it's all a fairy tale. But we tend to keep believing we're Egyptians, even though these Egyptian gods, they never existed. Their bodies have never been found. You got a man who's green, has a green face. His name was Osiris. You got a lady named Isis. You got a man with a falcon head named Horus. He's the living god on earth. Then you have books like the Contendings of Horus and Seth that is written on the papyrus Chester Beatty the First, which is in the Chester Beatty Library in Dublin, where it talks about how the sons of, the gods are Horus and Seth. When Horus is drunk, Seth seduces him to sleep overnight in one bed together. When lying in bed together, Seth has sex with Horus, and Horus rapes, and Seth rapes Horus, but Horus catches the semen of Seth in his hand. So you have homosexual stories being told about the ancient gods of Egypt. And then when you look at the gods of Egypt, say you look at the gods of Egypt, a lot of people don't understand. If you research the occult and you research the satanic practices, the witchcraft, or the occult, like the warlocks and the Illuminati and the Freemasons, Rosicrucians, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, all these different things, you'll see in their occult, satanic, Luciferian books that they worship and praise the Egyptian gods like Osiris, Anubis, Horus, Ra, Isis, all these different gods. What does that tell you? That tells you that the Egyptian gods were basically offsprings and basically passed down pagan religions from the fallen angels. If you look at the fallen angels you see in the book of Enoch, and also, you know, when it talks about the Bible, you'll see that the Sumerian stories, the Bible stories, you'll see also in satanic Luciferian books. If you read them and kind of understand the occult and actually talk to people that's in the occult, they'll tell you, yes, we worship the gods of Egypt. These are our gods. These are the gods of the black magic. All black magic and evil dark magic comes from ancient Egypt. But yet we want to keep ascribing to ancient Egypt as our culture, our history, our heritage, our all these different things. But when it all boils down to it, like I always say, if you test the DNA of the pharaohs of Egypt, and you test the DNA of a Mandinka, Soninke, Wolof, Tukulur, Fulani, you know, any of the different tribes, or Yoruba, Igbo, you will see that the DNA does not line up. However, when you check the DNA of the Somalians, you check the DNA of the Nuba tribe, the Luo tribe in Kenya, they'll even tell you that we are the descendants of the ancient kings of Kush in ancient Egypt. You check their DNA is different than our DNA. So they're different. Their DNA is different than the Jamaicans' DNA, the Haitians' DNA, the people in Grenada, people in Antigua and Barbados, the people in Trinidad, the people in Africa, America, the African Americans. Our DNA is different than the pharaohs of Egypt DNA. And I prove this in my books over and over and over again. And you got people in Africa that have Hebrew all throughout their language. They got Hebrew traditions all throughout their customs and culture. They got oral histories that have all the stuff about the flood story, about Abraham, about Moses, about Jacob, about the Assyrian siege, the Babylonian siege, the fall of the Second Temple. They can tell you the stuff out their mouth. They don't have it written down on papyrus or any stone tablets. It's been passed down from generation to generation to generation to generation. They don't read and write the Egyptian hieroglyphics. They don't ascribe to themselves as being the children of Egypt. They don't worship the gods of Egypt as Ra and Osiris and Isis. They worship one God. The Egyptians didn't really have one God. They had pagan gods pretty much throughout all the dynasties. When you look at, and I'm glad you talked to the lady that's from the Mandingo tribe in Gambia, Senegal. Well, when you do the research, you'll see that the ancient Mandingo Soninka people were ancient Israelites that left during the Babylonian siege in Babylon, which is modern day Iraq. Now, I talked to a guy, he was half Wolof, half Mandingo. He was from Senegal. I spoke to him some words, and I said, is this how you say this? 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 He says, yes. How do you know my language? I said, I just told you the language of people in India. I said, what does that mean? He said, what does that mean? I said, that means that the people in India say that they come from the ancient land of Babylon, the ancient land of Iraq and Iran and Assyria. Their language derives from Sanskrit, Harappan, and the ancient language of the Babylonians and Assyrian cuneiform script. So if the Israelites stayed in Babylon for a period of time and then left Babylon, went to Africa, wouldn't they have some of the Babylonian language fused in with their language? Now, if you look at the ancient writing style and language of the Mandingo Soninke people, not what they say today, because most Mandingo people, if you say, how do you say God? They're going to say Allah. Allah is the Arabic term for the God, because Allah means the goddess. Al-Ilah means the God. Al-Ilah means the God. Al-Ilat means the goddess. Al-Manat means the fate, the destiny, and Al-Uzza means the mighty one. So if you look at the Mandingo people, say, okay, back in the day, 1300, 1100 BC, 1100 AD, do you know your language? You know your writing style? They don't know it. But if you look at what the Jews have from Spain and Portugal, from Morocco, you'll see that their ancient language they wrote was ancient Aramaic, I showed the guy the ancient language of the Soninke people. I said, what does it say? He says, Soninke. I said, what is Soninke? He says, like the ancient term from the Mandingo people. He says, yes. He said, yes, that's our language. I said, well, look at this. I showed it to him. I said, let me show you what Aramaic looks like. I showed him Aramaic. I showed him the ancient Soninke Mandingo language. He said, it looks the same. I said, exactly. You guys back in the day were writing and speaking and reading Aramaic, which came before Arabic. Before Aramaic, you had Hebrew. Before Hebrew, you had ancient Hebrew. That goes back to basically Egypt. You look at the Proto-Sinaitic script that was written, like I said, in Wadi El Hol in South Egypt and also in the Sinai Peninsula. You'll see evidence of a different language other than Egyptian hieroglyphs that came from the Hebrews. Now, if you listen clearly, if you look at the Amarna tablets were found in ancient Egypt. It goes back to around 1300 BC. It talks about a people called the Haburu, which were the runaway slaves that went to the land of Canaan. Well, on the Amarna tablets, it says that the Canaanites issued out distress letters to the Egyptians saying we need help because the runaway slaves called the Haburu are taking over Jerusalem and the cities such as Shechem and Gezer and Hebron, the same cities that Joshua took over in the books of the Bible. Now, when you look at what did the Egyptians and the Canaanites say? They said that the chief of the Haburu and his people, the runaway slaves, are taking over Jerusalem and Shechem and Gezer and Hebron. This is exactly what's listed in the book of Joshua in the Bible. This corresponds to the time period after the flood when the children of Israel and Joshua went into the land of Canaan and they took over Israel. So a lot of people, they keep discrediting the Bible as it's a myth, it's a fiction, but you have people today all across the world that have stories, not stories they have written down, but stories they've been passed down for generation to generation, that they're descendants of the lost tribes of Israel, and they left Israel a long time ago in different ways, and now they're in Africa, now they're in Australia, now they're in Papua New Guinea, now they're in Fiji, now they're in Samoa. And when you check their DNA, you check their skull pattern, you check a lot of different things, it does not line up with the DNA of the mummies of the pharaohs of Egypt.
Okay, my brother, you've covered a lot of ground in all of what you said. So much to unpack. Got a couple of callers in the group. Let me invite them to contribute to the discussion. First of all, bringing in caller 791. Greetings, 791. Who do we have on the line?
Yes, good afternoon, sister. It's Adam.
Oh, greetings, Brother Adam. Can the other caller please hold? Yeah, welcome to the discussion, Brother Adam. How are you doing?
Excellent. Fantastic. And yourself?
Yes, I'm good. I'm good, my brother. Thanks for calling us. Go ahead with your questions or your points, please.
Yes, I'd like to ask Brother Ron a couple of questions, if possible, and if he can just give me a very kind of like succinct and short answer, please.
Yes. Can I just check if he can hear you? Can you hear Brother Adam?
No, I can't hear him.
Okay. If you give me your questions, and what I'll do, I'll repeat it back to our brother Ronald.
Okay, then. Can you hear me now? Am I any better? I'm speaking very close to the phone.
Yeah, he's not calling through Skype. He's on the telephone, so he can't actually hear what's going through the board.
Oh, well, all right then. Okay then. Yeah, all right, fine. So, all right. One of my first questions is, is Brother Ron basically saying that in order for us to create African self-reparation, we've got to start following the Bible?
Hold it there. So you said, I won't remember all the questions, so you'll have to break it down for me. So Brother Adam saying, is Brother Ronald saying that in order for us to achieve reparations, we've got to, in order to achieve self-reparations, yeah?
Yeah.
Do we have to
start following the Bible again?
Do we have to start following the Bible again? So, Brother Ronald, are you saying that in order for us to achieve self-reparations, do we have to start following the Bible again? That's his first question.
Well, when I think in terms of self-reparations, I don't know if he's talking about money, if he's talking about things will get better for us economically. Is that what he's talking about?
No, self-reparation as in what Professor Chinwezu stated.
He said no, self-reparations as in what Professor Chinwezu stated.
Well, I didn't hear what Professor Chinwezu was talking about.
Okay, he hasn't heard what Professor Chinwezu was talking about.
Yeah, well, Professor Chinwezu essentially says that reparation is important, but the first and most important part of reparation is self-reparation. So I'm asking him, is he saying that in order for us to create self-reparation, we have to start following the Bible?
Right. Professor Chinwezu was saying that what's most important for us is self-reparations, first and foremost. So so in order for us to achieve self-reparations, he's asking you if you're saying that we have to go back to the Bible.
Well, if you notice, the other nations, they don't really follow the Bible, but yet they're economically on top. They have all the money. If we desire any reparations from anybody in terms of money, we're going to have to get it from them, not us having it ourselves. We don't need it because we're going to generate our own money. The Bible does say that if the children of Israel keep the law, statutes, and commandments that was given to to Moses and to the children of Israel, that means that we will receive the blessings of Israel. One of the blessings of Israel is that our businesses and our stores and the land that we live in will prosper. Just like in the days of King Solomon, before King Solomon kind of went astray, and everybody was sending money and gold, and everybody was doing business with King Solomon, and Queen Sheba of Ethiopia came and was just fascinated by all the wealth and all the order that was happening in the land of Israel. Even the kings, the pharaohs of Egypt, was giving away their daughters to King Solomon, even though he had tons of wives, and they were giving him dowry gifts in terms of land and everything. This is in the Gezer calendar. But if we simply practice the Torah, we practice brotherly love and the things that are listed in the Old Testament, then we would see that if we understand our identity, who we are as a people, we start working together as a unit, as a people, as a nation. We start not doing the stuff we do to black people on a daily basis in America, United Kingdom, in Africa, backstabbing, murder, stealing, adultery, fornication, disrespecting our elders, disrespecting the value of life, trying to get over on your brother and sister, not trying to do any business with your brother and sister, but do business with the other nations, then yes, we would see an increase in economic wealth, increase in growth, increase in prosperity for our people. Right now, because we don't have an identity, we don't have a camaraderie, we don't have a real heritage and customs. Therefore, we act the way we want to act based on how TV portrays us. It's not a coincidence that in the United Kingdom you have gangs, you have shootings, you have killings, you have people going to jail, you have drug abuse, substance abuse, you have broken families, you have divorce rates, you have fornication, you have homosexuality, you have all types of things that worship money and material things, and really a lot of people less attention to the Creator. So we have to get back as the children of Israel to the old way of things, and if we do the old ways of things, like the Torah and the commandments and law statutes of the Creator, the Most High God, Yahuwah, then yes, things will turn around for us.
Okay, interesting response there. Some of us will say that a lot of the experiences that our children and our people are having here in the UK is by design, but that's a whole different discussion. But before I even attempt to go down that road, because it'll take us off track, let me go to caller 821 and ask them for their question or their point that they'd like to contribute. Caller 821, who do we have on the line?
Thanks, sis. Is that me, sis?
Yeah, okay, Brother Jeff. Welcome, Black, my brother.
Thank you, sis. Brother Adam, welcome to you, Brother Adam.
All right, Jeff.
Can you hear me, Adam? How are you, sir?
Yeah, good. And you?
Yeah, question. Thank you, Brother Adam. Thank you. I'm this brother from America, Brother Ronald. I'm chopping at the bits. So I'll be rude to you, brother, because I'm brother's earnest.
Yeah, no, we won't be rude at all. But give me your questions. Break down your question, and because I've got to relay it. Uh-huh.
Yes, please. Well, since I asked him to ask a question earlier before, you know, sis, I asked him to. I didn't get an answer. All it was prevarication, obfuscation. If you can ask questions concisely and clearly, how 8 people, Noah, his wife, his 3 sons and their wives, 8 people, collected all the animals in the world, without planes, without any public transportation, all the insects, all the fauna, and put them in one ark.
Okay.
He said yes.
Hang on 1 second, please. I've got to break it down. I'm not going to... Sorry, I won't remember all of it, brother. My brother. So, yeah, Brother Ronald, Brother Jeff is back on the phone, and he's saying that he didn't actually get a straight answer to his question. He was asking how... Yeah, basically, if the story of Noah is true, how did he manage to get 8 people, all the animals, all the insects, all the fauna, everything on a boat? And what's the rest of your question, Brother Jeff?
Yes, I mean, basically, we live on a globe, okay, a planet. How did 8 people circumnavigate the globe?
And circumnavigate the globe to collect all the species and put it all on one boat. Okay, so that's your question to Brother Ronald.
Yeah, so he's being real, like this. See, the thing that I just broke down to him earlier was all the different flood myths all across the world. And
can I hold it there? Because Brother Jeff, did you hear he broke down all the different flood myth stories? So I think he's saying that story is a myth. Is that what you're saying, that it's a myth?
Myth. I'm just saying that if they have the story in their history and it's not written down, it's something that they've been passed down from generation to generation to generation. Just like Noah had 3 sons and his 3 sons populated the whole earth, it would make sense that Noah's 3 sons that populated the whole earth would all have the same flood story account, talking about a great flood and that people survived the flood, and of course animals survived the flood, because all animals can't survive in the water for 40 days and 40 nights. If you look at some of the mountains,
can I just clarify?
You'll see.
So are we saying
you'll see that embedded in the rock of a lot of these tall mountains? You'll see fish and all types of sea life planted in the mountains, way, way, way up high in the sky. And
I can attest to that.
So there, back in the day, there was a great flood that extended all the way to the mountains, because otherwise we see fish skeletons and whale skeletons and shark skeletons and dinosaur eggs and all these other things at the top of the mountains.
1 minute, Jeff.
Water doesn't exist. So he's trying to be technical and say, well, how do all the animals on Earth fit in the ark? But we can't really look at that and say, well, we're going to be technical and see how did it happen. We just know that a great flood happened, and that people survived the flood, animals survived the flood, and people dispersed after the flood, after the ark or the boat or canoe or large vessel, and they went to different corners of the earth. And that's why all the different civilizations I mentioned earlier all have a flood story, including ancient Egypt.
Okay, hold it there, please, my brother. Okay, so Brother Jeff, you've heard the response. I think what he's saying is that, earlier he gave us a load of different ethnic groups that's got this flood story. So I think what he's saying is that there seems to be, because we're hearing it from so many different stories, that there was a flood, and there's evidence in the mountains as well that there was a great flood. That part of it is true, but maybe, the 8 people on the boat with all the animals, obviously that part of it is a myth. Yeah?
Well, you gotta. No, I'm not saying it's a myth because you gotta understand that if the waters receded.
Well, sorry, I've got both of you talking at the same time. I'm sorry. So, brother Ronald, are you conceding that the flood story and the 8 people and all the animals on the boat is a myth?
Yeah. When I'm saying I'm saying it's true. If there was,
it's true. There was 8 people on a boat, and all the animals in all the world on a boat.
Yeah, listen to me. If I told you that the waters receded, the waters rose to the top of the mountains, how can animals on the planet Earth, like elephants and all these other animals, lions and tigers and all these other lizards, how can they survive if the waters went all the way to the top of the mountain to where we see skeletons of fish life embedded into the mountains? How would they? Are
you saying that they all survived on a boat?
How else would they survive?
So they were all on the boat, as far as you're concerned.
How else would they survive unless they fell out the sky and then landed on the earth?
No, I'm just asking you if you think that they were all on the boat, and if.
This is all we have to go by, but what our ancestors wrote.
Okay, so brother Jeff, the answer is yes.
Yes.
The answer is yes. 8 people and all the animals were on a boat.
I think that's like the minor thing that we should be focusing on right now.
I think, one at a time, please, Brother Jeff. Yeah, sorry. So, Brother Jeff, you got your answer. Brother Jeff, you got your answer, okay?
No, that wasn't my answer. That wasn't my answer. With due respect, that wasn't my answer.
Oh, no, you asked the question, didn't you? You asked the question if he believed the story about 8 people on the boat and all the animals, all the insects, all the fauna from all around the world. And he said yes.
That wasn't my question. That wasn't my question.
Sorry, I got the question wrong then. What was your question?
That was not. I asked him to explain how.
Explain how?
8 people.
How?
Circumnavigate the globe to collect every animal, rat, public transport, rat planes, trains. 8 people. Look how big the planet is. 8 people circumnavigate the globe to collect every animal, every species, and put them in a boat.
Right. Okay. I got that. Before I forget the question, sorry, my brother. Now he's asking how did 8 people on a boat circumnavigate the globe, bearing in mind how big the world is, collect 2 of each species from all around the world and put them on that boat before the flood?
If you just listen to what we're talking about, it's silly that we're talking about how did the flood happen. It's like asking somebody, how did mankind build the pyramids? How did mankind with his bare hands build the pyramids? And those rocks are super, super heavy. And back then, I didn't see no cranes. I didn't see no large. Yeah,
but there's a big difference between those 2 questions, my brother, because the evidence of the pyramids is there. So,
I'm saying that, but I'm saying that, but we have evidence that there was a great flood, like I just told you.
Yes, there was evidence maybe that there was a flood.
How could you have fish life and whales and all types of things embedded in the mountains way up high where the snow caps?
Okay, can I answer that?
I asked you.
Can I answer that? Yeah, I think there's evidence in some parts of the world. That parts of the world was underwater. That's not in dispute. There are even sunken cities, which tells us that at some point, there were some cities that were above water that are now beneath water. Okay, so we know that the landscape has changed maybe over millions of years. I don't think there's any dispute about that. But I think the issue was how.
That's like asking how do we have giant skeletons that are 30 feet tall with 6 fingers and 6 toes? Where do we get giants human beings that are 30 feet tall? Why is the pygmy tribe short? It's like asking these questions like we have skeletons that are 20 feet tall, 30 feet tall, human skeletons. That's like asking where do they come from?
Be very patient.
Like how do we get a giant that's 30 feet tall? Like where does it come from? Is it in the Egyptian Book of the Dead? No, it's not in the Egyptian Book of the Dead.
Okay.
My sister.
1 minute, Brother Jeff. When he's talking, if you just allow him to finish, please, because he's calling all the way from America, and he has a lot that he wants to share with us, and so we want to give him the time and the space to be able to do so. I know you want to jump in. I do as well. I'm trying to restrain myself as well. So, but Brother Jeff, I think with all due respect, he's not going to be able to say how it happened.
We're wasting too much time on the floor.
Yeah, and I think the point that Brother Jeff was making is that it's impossible. It's just a story. It didn't happen.
A lot of people would say different because, why would somebody make up something that actually did happen? Why would you have different people across the world that have different language divisions, 3 different language divisions?
Let me explain why. Let me give you a theory as to why. You asked the question.
Let me just say something real quick before you jump in.
All right, I'll try and remember what I was going to say. Come ahead,
Why would we have people today that have ancient Hebrew embedded in their language? They have Hebrew traditions and customs. They have stories of ancient things that happened in ancient Israel that are in our Bible today, like the Yorubas and the Igbos and the people, the Kikongo, the Kikuyu, the Kisi, the Kamba, the Sukuma, the Zulu, Xhosa.
Okay. That can easily be explained, my brother.
Exactly Hebrew stories if it didn't happen.
Yeah, that could easily be explained.
Explain it then. How are they speaking Hebrew?
Okay.
Traditions and customs.
1 second.
Why they worship one God called Yahuwah?
Okay, let me explain. Okay, that can be explained by the migration of people from Africa who held a particular religious belief, yes, and who hold on a second, my brother. No, you have to listen. If
the stuff you can't explain that.
Yeah, no, you have to listen as well.
This is true.
Yeah, no, my brother, we have to listen to each other because you asked a question.
Go ahead.
You asked the question.
I say it, I'll respond.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so you were asking a question about how is it that we can explain that in different parts of the world, there are groups of people that seem to have similar beliefs. And I was going to respond by saying that could easily be explained by following the migration routes of people. Now, we can see from the DNA migration of human beings from Africa to the various parts of the world that we populated. And remember, everywhere in the world, we as Africans were there. I hope I haven't lost you. Have I lost you, my brother? Are you still there, Brother Ronald? Oh, oops, I think I've lost Brother Ronald. It's trying to reconnect. Sorry about that. Yeah, come in, Brother Adam. I was just going to try and explain something, but...
About migration.
Oops, what's happening there?
With myself, I don't have a problem with acknowledging that the ancient Hebrews were quote unquote black, as we seem to have a problem with saying melanated people or African. I prefer to say African, but I have no problem with accepting that the ancient Hebrews were African. I've got whether they were Ishmaelite or Israelite or Midianite. They were black as far as I was concerned.
Yeah.
But going back to my point about are we saying that in order for us to create African self-reparation, we've got to...
Yes, you've reconnected. Brother Adam was just talking and he was saying that, he doesn't have a problem accepting that our Hebrew brothers were black and the Edomites and Thathites and Thisites were all black. We know that at one time, it was just Africans that populated the globe. Carry on, Brother Adam.
Yeah, so I haven't got a difficulty with acknowledging that the ancient Israelites, Ishmaelites, and
ancient Israelites, Mishnaelites, and all the other ites were black, or melanated people,
But what I'm saying is that when the brother saying that in order for us to create African self-reparation today, we've got to start following the Bible.
But if you're saying that in order for us to create reparations today, we've got to start following the Bible, then
But my other question is, so which version of the Bible are we supposed to follow?
So the other question is, which version of the Bible are we supposed to follow? Mm-hmm.
Catholic, Anglican, or the slave?
Catholic, Anglican, or the slave Bible. Our brother earlier mentioned the Maccabee Bible, the St. James Bible. Yes, lots of different versions.
Bible, which one?
Which one? Okay, thank you for that, my brother. Right, the lines are open. If you've got a question for our brother, really interesting discussion. We're bringing our different schools of thought to the table, which is all fine. And I'm trying to manage the discussion in a way that, is respectful to all our views and opinions. The number that you want to call in on is 0207 193 0174. We have 15 minutes before the top of the hour. Hopefully we've also got our sister Shakina listening. You might have heard our sister call in from the Gambia about the works that she's doing out there. So if you've got any questions as well for our sister Shakina, you can also call in. But I think this topic has got us quite gripped at the moment. So I was also trying to explain that when we left Africa as a people, remember, we've been around for millions of years as a people. The Bible's been around about 6,000 years, but as Africans, as melanated people, we've been around for millions of years, yeah? And this can be proven as well through the skeletons that archaeologists have found, etc., okay? And let me just add Sister Anita to the group as well. And also, it looks as though I've just added Brother Ras Itek. Please hold and put your phones on mute. I'm getting feedback. Please put your phones on mute. So we migrated as a people and populated all parts of the world. And what we did, we took some of our tradition with us, we took some of our language with us, and some of our language and traditions actually changed along the routes as well. And in fact, you know, if you go as far as Japan, if you go to the Philippines, if you go to the Eastern worlds, you can see graven images of their gods that look like Africans, graved, you know, carved into mountains. We took the idea of engraven our image of God that looked like us to the various parts of the world. In Mexico, you got the big heads. You know, there's evidence of us all over the world. Even quite recently here in the UK, they came across a really old skeleton. And when they did the DNA of that skeleton that was over 20,000 years old, they found it to be an African. So we know that as Africans, we populated the entire globe. Now, obviously, coming back now from the Caucasus Mountains, you're going to get another species that the Africans started mating with, and they are the Neanderthals, yeah, and the Denisovans, okay? So you've got the DNA now of the Neanderthals and the Denisovans mixed with Africans coming back from the Caucasus Mountains, coming back into Africa. And okay, I've got a couple of callers. Let me just bring in a couple of callers to engage with us on this interesting discussion. Right.
I can basically debunk everything you just said if you let me talk.
Yeah, go ahead. Of course, go ahead, my brother.
Okay, so the question you said about the Denisovan man and Neanderthal man. Now you said that the Denisovan man and Neanderthal man went into Africa. That's false.
No, they didn't go into Africa. That's not what I said. No, my brother.
Let me ask you a question.
They didn't come into Africa. Our African brothers, yeah, mated with them, yeah, not in Africa, yeah, in the areas of the Caucasus Mountains where they were.
So what DNA does the Denisovan and Neanderthal man have? What's their DNA?
Right, they've got the RH DNA.
No.
Yes, they do have. They've got the monkey DNA.
I'm asking you a question. What's their DNA haplogroup? I ask you, Y DNA, father haplogroup, maternal DNA, female haplogroup. What is the Denisovan Neanderthal woman's or man's DNA haplogroup from the mother, from the father? Do you know that answer?
I don't know the details of that, but that doesn't mean
Let me tell you what the answer.
that.
Let me tell you what the answer is. Let me tell you what the answer. You talked about DNA, so I'm going to tell you about DNA. When they check the skull, when they check the caves in Western Europe, Eastern Europe, and Asia, even down in Papua New Guinea, different areas like that, they check the DNA of these skeletons, that so-called Denisovan Neanderthal man.
Mm-hmm.
What they found for the women was maternal DNA X. Maternal DNA X is the DNA, the maternal DNA from the mother of the Denisovan woman and the Neanderthal woman. What you will find is that you don't have the maternal DNA X in India. You don't have the maternal DNA X in Africa. So the question is, if everybody descended from African people, then
Not everybody. Not everybody did.
Everybody was African. You say everybody was African.
Yes, until we met the Neanderthals. The Neanderthals are not humans. The Neanderthals. Do you know that the Neanderthals are not humans?
Listen to me. I understand that.
Oh, okay. And you know the Denisovans are not humans.
I understand that.
And you know the Africans who are humans. You know the Africans are humans.
Listen to me. I understand what you're saying. If Neanderthal's DNA is not in the people in India, then who are the people?
It is in some of them.
Go look it up. Google it.
I've got it here on my DNA mapping. Yeah, I've got it on my DNA mapping.
Look at it too. It's in my books. I can Google just like you can Google. It's not in India. It's not in Africa. Yes, it's in Western Europe. Yes, it's in Eastern Europe. Yes, it's in Central Asia. Yes, it's in parts of the Pacific Islands. It is not in India. It's not in Africa.
Callers, I'm trying to add you, but I'm sorry, I'm having a problem here trying to add more callers. I've got callers. Oh, you're really hotting up the lines, my brother. I've got callers trying to call in.
Let me just say something about migration. So the people known as the Bantus people, the Negro, their DNA can be found in ancient Israel, dating back to the times of the Bible. What happened after a period of time when you have 700 BC, 600 BC during the Assyrian invasion, the Babylonian invasion, the Greek invasion, and the Roman invasion? What happened? These people that had the Y DNA, E1B1A, you could check your DNA if you're from the Caribbean or from West Africa. Your DNA is going to probably be the maternal DNA, L2, L3. If you check your father, your brother, it's going to be E1B1A. What happened after that time period when the Israelites got kicked out of the land? They migrated, a lot of them migrated back into Africa. So what do we see in Africa? We see different DNA haplogroups saying different lineages of man. The DNA of the Dinka tribe is A. The DNA of the Nama tribe, the Nuba, the Luar, the Shilak, the Anuak, the Anuwar tribe is A. You look at the DNA of the Pygmy tribe is B. Look at the DNA of the Alur, the Beja, the Somali is the DNA T or E1B1B and different things. You look at the DNA of the so-called Negro, it's the E1B1A. Now the DNA of the Negro, E1B1A, are the people that have Hebrew traditions and heritage and customs and oral histories that they come from Israel. The DNA of the ancient Egyptians throughout the different dynasties from.
Are you saying that the Egyptians you are saying that the Egyptians and the so-called Negroes, they are all Africans, though, melanated people, yeah?
Again, that in ancient Egypt literature, was there a man named Africa that had children named Africans?
No, but I mean melanated people. We're talking about people of color, broad nose, woolly hair.
You gotta stop. Okay, what about people in India? Do they have broad nose?
Okay, right. Now, hold it there.
Okay.
Hold it there.
If Africans...
Hold it there.
By...
Okay, because, you know, with the DNA migration, yeah, there's migration from Africa going out to the rest of the world, and there was also a migration coming back, yeah? Now, the migration going out from Africa, yeah, from the DNA migration, it was pure humans. The original, you know, people that populated the earth were the humans, yeah? And now when we got to the Caucasus Mountains and those places, that's where we came across this other species. And the Europeans tell you about it in their own books. Here in the UK, you can get books that tell you, yeah, about them, the Neanderthals. Yeah, they're the
fourth book. I cover this extensively in book 4 of my book.
Okay, rise up, my brother. Enough respect to you for the research as well. But you do agree that we can all look at things from a slightly different perspective, which is all that we're doing, really, and we're just sharing our views and opinions. Yeah.
We got to get out of this view that everybody is. I mean, and the term Africa is just a term. I mean, everybody living in Ethiopia is not the same bloodline. Ethiopians know this. Everybody living
now we're not the same bloodline, because then you have to look at the timeline. I think if we was talking on a timeline, then we wouldn't be confused, because
well, right now what I'm talking about are Greeks, Romans, Ishmaelites.
Right.
Okay, we're not talking about 5,000 BC,
right?
50,000 BC. I'm talking about real life history. We got Greeks, we have Romans, we have Chaldeans, we have Arabs, Ishmaelites, we have...
Can I just interject very quickly there, my brother, very briefly, to say, right, if that's where we are on the timeline, then I agree with you in terms of the DNA mixture, because by that time, you've got the Neanderthals DNA in there, you've got the Denisovans DNA in there, as well as the African DNA, all mixed together. And plus, you've got the Neanderthals that have mixed with the Africans, that mix with the Denisovans as well, to give you another species.
You're saying the Neanderthals mixed with the Africans.
Yes.
Then the Neanderthal man mixed with people in Africa.
They mated with them. According
DNA found in Africa. Is Neanderthals DNA found in Africa? Yes or no?
Well, now you might find it, but originally you wouldn't have found it.
Nobody in Africa that's of black descent, black people with woolly hair, had the Neanderthal DNA in their maternal DNA.
Right, now you're going back pre-Greek and Roman times.
I'm just telling you, the people in Sudan, the Dinka
tribe, pure Africans do not. The ones who have not mixed do not have the Neanderthal DNA.
Bantus people,
The pure Africans do not have the Neanderthal DNA.
A lot of African Americans do not have the Neanderthal DNA. Like I told you before, the people in India do not have the Neanderthal DNA.
Some do. Yeah, the Asians.
Look it up. I've researched genetic articles. Read my book. Read my fourth book.
Okay, we'll have to exchange science. Newsletters.
You didn't know what the maternal DNA of the Neanderthal woman or the Denisova woman.
No, I'm not expecting. No, you know more than me. I give you that. You've studied it more.
I have a bachelor's degree in science. I have a master's degree in physician assistant studies. So we study genetics.
Yeah. Yeah, enough respect to you for that, my brother. I'm not taking anything away with you. I'm just sharing with you some of what I've read from the science journals, okay?
I mean, Wikipedia is not going to tell you all the answers. I can tell you this because I study genetic articles.
Okay.
Access.
All right, let me leave.
To get mail to your house, then I would say, well, you may be right, but you're wrong, so I have to correct you.
I welcome your point of views. I'm all for sharing. I'm all for learning as well. But
wrong in a lot of stuff you say.
I don't know. We're going to have to exchange science notes on that. But anyway, let me open up to others because it is a really interesting discussion. And I don't want to hog it all for myself. There's lots that we're talking about here. Some facts, some fiction, some true, some stories. And we're just trying to make sense of this all. So we're looking at African history versus biblical myths or biblical truths. We're looking at some of the findings of science as well. And we're trying to make sense, out of all of this. And we're talking about, hundreds of thousands of years of history. And we have to remember that there's a huge amount of whitening and whitewashing that's been done on all of this as well. And so we're really, trying to clutch at straws here. But very importantly, I think what we all are in agreement with is that in terms of the way we go forward, we need to come together as a people. We need to be progressive. We need to work collectively. We need to be looking to Africa as our homeland. Even though we know we once owned the globe, it's a different situation now. So we're not forgetting about the importance of being looking ahead as well. But at the same time, we're also interestingly trying to critique and analyze, our past, especially within the context of the Bible that some believe to be true and some believe to be not true. Okay, let's go to the phone lines. I've got a couple in there. You're quite lucky, the ones who are in there, because I don't know what's going on with the phones today. So the ones who are in are very lucky to be so. So let's bring in caller 791. I think that might be Adam again. 791, is that you, Brother Adam?
Yes, it is. But I think Jeff seemed like he wanted to say something. So
yes.
Something if you like.
Come in, Jeff. Adam has made way for you.
Thanks, Adam. Sister, you're in charge. Do I have your consent?
Yes, you do have. I said, come in.
Right, sis. I'm chopping at the bit now. Thanks, Adam. This chap, brother, I don't want to. I mean, this guy. I was on a science background. This chap thinks he can bazz us some pseudoscience. I mean, when did he go to school? Sesame Street? I mean, look.
Yeah, but let's keep it respectful. Come on, my brother. Yeah, let's keep it respectful.
Okay, sis. But look, okay, time is short, and I won't be long. Adam's on the phone as well, so I'll keep it short. I mean, look, the point I'm making was this. I want to be cheeky, or the point I'm making was this. The Bible is a book of myths.
So our brother Jeff is saying that the Bible is a book of myths, plagiarized. Carry on.
Well, myths. Well, just to make some points. I mean, did you say that humankind is only 6,000 years old? If so,
are you saying is mankind only 6,000 years old? If so,
how can you explain that they've traced maternal DNA to an African lady?
How can you explain that they've traced DNA to an African lady?
Mitochondrial DNA.
Mitochondrial DNA to an African lady.
And also, you can explain that the African skeleton been found in Azania, which is millions of years old.
And how can you explain, the African that they found in Azania, 3 million years old?
more than that.
More than 3 million years old.
There's a chap called Michael Cremo. There's a book called Forbidden Archaeology, a brilliant man called Michael Cremo.
Michael Cremo?
He's, his book's called Forbidden Archaeology.
His book's called Forbidden Archaeology?
Yeah, Forbidden Archaeology. And in his book, he relates, later they found skeletons in Africa, in Tanzania, East Africa, South Africa, that are millions of years old.
And he relates to skeletons that have been found in Africa, different skeletons, millions of years old. Okay, alrighty, my brother.
Yeah, I'll be quiet.
Are you ready?
I'll be quiet.
Thank you. So you've got those questions, my brother. Also, if I go to the WhatsApp, some points have been made here. Jesus was never found. What about the gods of Egypt? These are writings of Jewish scholars in their attempts to separate us from our Egyptian heritage. Another message said, if Egyptians was so perverse, why did God send Jesus and Moses to hide amongst them? Also, are Jews mentioned in the Old Testament? And finally, who authored the Torah? What's its source? So numbers of questions there that have come in for you, my brother.
Yeah, so the question is to ask people is, if the world is flat or if the world is round, if the earth is 6,000 years old or the earth is 20,000 years old, does that change our lives any bit? Does that change our lives any bit to say, oh, the earth is 8,000 years old, oh, the earth is 50,000 years old, oh, the earth is 3 million years old? Now, it doesn't change our life and what's going on today and the fact that, like I've said before, we are the real Israelites. Now, when you look at the people in South Africa, they tested the DNA. They said it's the oldest people. Okay, they also said that the Khoisan people are one of the oldest people, the oldest DNA on the planet Earth, but their DNA is not the same DNA as our DNA. We look at the Cheddar man. What was his DNA? It wasn't our DNA. It wasn't your DNA.
Said that, though,
look at the Kennewick man. The Kennewick man, he was old too. What was his DNA? It wasn't your DNA. It wasn't people's DNA in Jamaica and Haiti and African Americans. So there are old people that go back way back in time before Jacob and Abraham and Isaac existed, because we know that we had, in the biblical story, you have Adam and Eve, you have Pangea, you have the world all being one landmass, then it split, and then you have the Tower of Babel, you have Noah's Ark, you have the division of languages and division of people in different parts of the world. So yes, there would be people that go way back before Abraham, going back to before the sons of Noah, Ham, Shem, and Japheth, to the times where you had Adam all the way down to Noah, through Enoch and Methuselah. So that would make sense, yes. But the problem is people are getting off. They're saying, oh, well, Jesus didn't exist. Oh, did Osiris exist? Did Osiris, Isis, and Horus exist? There was the body of these guys. Their bodies are nowhere to be found. So these are all things, but you got people today in Ethiopia, people in Egypt, people in Syria, you got people in India, people in Tibet, that all have accounts that the New Testament is valid, the disciples of Christ existed, Jesus existed. There's a lot of background noise. I'm sorry.
So can I just come in, please?
Yeah, Adam wants to come in. Yeah, sure. Come in, Adam.
I mean, I hear what the brother's saying, and as I say, I personally don't have a difficulty with accepting that the Israelites, Ishmaelites, Midianites, etc., were all black. I haven't got a problem with that. But I just want to get back to the point. So just to clarify, Ron is saying that in order for us to create African self-reparation, we've got to start following the Bible. Yeah, what version, which of the versions of the Bible is the one he's telling us to follow?
Okay, so my brother, our brother Adam was saying he doesn't have a problem accepting all of these different ites. We're all Africans. We're all melanated people.
No, this part,
but what he's saying is, which version of the Bible is it that you are saying we should be following?
Okay, so the original Bible was written in Hebrew.
The original Bible was written in Hebrew, yeah.
It was written in Hebrew, and from Hebrew came Aramaic, then came Arabic, which came from the Quran. Now, if you look, like I told you earlier, the Proto-Sinaitic language script that was written in Sarabit, in Sinai Peninsula, in Wadi El Hol, is different than Egyptian hieroglyphs. We know that the Sumerian language was different than Egyptian hieroglyphs, and the Sumerian language dates back to 3500 BC. If you look at the old Harappan, early Harappan language, it dates back to 4000 to 3000 BC. That's around the same time that the Egyptians say that their language arises from. So how you got two people saying that their language comes from 4000 BC over in India, the Harappan, the early Harappan, from where you get the Indus Valley languages like Telugu, Malayalam, and Tamil Nadu, and all these other things, You got people in Egypt saying the same thing. Now, this is the question. If we're not Hebrew Israelites, then why are there our ancestors, like the people in the Congo?
He's not
For
listening.
Jesus, they say Yisa Yah. Yisa Yah. He who comes in the name of Yah. When the Messiah, they say Moshe Yah.
What version?
We say in Hebrew the Mashiach. For the Creator, for Jehovah, for the Lord, they say Yah Abay. Yah is the Father.
What version of the Bible
Abay,
are we supposed to follow?
means the Father. For Israel, the people in the Congo, the Kikongo language.
1 second, I'll ask him.
The Bantus expansion. Listen to me. They say Yisa Elah, or for Jesus say Yisa Elah. He who comes in the name of God. Elah is the word for God in the Bantus Kikongo language. What do they say for son? Well, we know a son is Ben, like Ben Yisrael. They say Benah or Banah Abba for son. What do they say for water? For water, they say Ma'i. For Hebrew, it's Mayim. If you have somebody that speaks Malayalam, you say, how do you say water? In Kerala, India, they'll say Mayim or Maya. You say, how do you say seven? In the Kikongo language, they say Sabah or Samba. In Hebrew, it's Sheba. You say, how do you say thanks or praise in the Kikongo language?
Yeah, and he still
they say
hasn't answered the
Tonda,
question.
Matonda. In Hebrew, it's Tonda.
I know, I think he's
How
getting
do you
there.
say to marry? In the Hebrew Kikongo language, they say Bala. In Hebrew, it's Baal. How do you say to laugh or to play in the Kikongo Bantus language, the Negro language? They say Tasaka. In Hebrew, it's Tasakak. How do you say good night in Hebrew? They say Lala Bin. In Hebrew, it's Lala Tov. So there's a lot of things in the Bantus language of the Negroes that corresponds to the fact that we have Hebrew Israelite heritage. And people keep saying that we Egyptians, but we don't speak any Egyptian language, and our DNA does not line up with any of the pharaohs of Egypt when they test the DNA of the actual soft tissues of the mummies or the inner peaches portion of the ear or the skulls or any type of genetic testing they test in Egypt does not line up with our DNA. So therefore, we are not Egyptians. We are the Israelites.
My brother asks, what version of the Bible?
I just told you, the Hebrew Bible.
The Hebrew Bible. Okay, so that's the answer, Brother Adam.
King James.
Is that King James?
What is it?
No,
What is it? What is it? He's saying. What version? What?
He can look at the Meshach Memory Bible. He can look at the Peshitta or the Targum New Testament written in Aramaic, because the New Testament was written in Aramaic before it was written in Greek. You have Aramaic fragments written in the Book of Revelation.
But which English one? We speak English.
He's saying we speak and read English now.
Which one?
Okay, well,
Which one?
You have translations. You have Hebrew English translations. So he can look at the Meshach Memory Bible. He can look at the Hebrew Interlinear Bible. If you ask any Hebrew Israelite in the United Kingdom, can I find me a Hebrew Bible or Hebrew English translation Bible? They will tell you all the different Bibles that they use to read the Bible and cross-reference the text, whether it's in Hebrew or ancient Greek. Before you want to even start to dibble-dabble in English or Old English or Latin, you want to go to the Hebrew Bible and the Aramaic New Testament, because the Bible is written in Hebrew and Aramaic.
Hebrew.
All right. So,
Bible.
right. So you got your answer there. I'm unable to add new callers. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to try a different method, but I might lose those in the group when I do so. If so, please call back should you want to do so. Unknown caller, I was trying to add you as well, but I haven't been able to add you to the group. So you were asking some questions about which version of the Bible it is. Sorry, unknown caller, trying to add you. Brother Kwame, trying to add you as well. Brother Prince, I've got you in the group now. Do you want to go ahead, please? Brother Prince, are you there?
Yeah, I am. Can you hear me?
Okay, Brother Kwame. Oh, and I've got an unknown caller. I did add the unknown caller. Okay, let me bring in the unknown caller first, as they came in before you, Brother Kwame.
Sista Shanice.
Oh, that's Prince Farai. Okay, so I've got Prince Farai and unknown caller. Who's the unknown caller?
Greetings, Sister
Yeah, get the name right. Sounds like our Sojourner. Okay, let me bring in Sister Sojourner. She's the unknown caller that was trying to get in for a little while. Sorry about that. Been having some difficulty with the phone line, as you've heard, with the adding of the calls. Brother Kwame, I'm going to come to you next, and then Brother Farai. Right. Sister Sojourner, welcome to the Big G. How are you doing?
Grand rising octopus, innit? Yes. I want to say welcome back. I'm forgetting your name.
Sister Shanice in the house.
Yes, Sister Shanice. Shanice, how can I forget your name? I usually call you Wonder Woman, don't I? So that's why. Yeah, welcome back from Zimbabwe.
Thank you.
Your YouTube and subscribe to your YouTube, so I've been looking at that.
Thank you so much.
And rise up to everybody in the house. I've been listening to the whole show. What a mix-up. What a mix-up. I think there's a song out there. I can't remember the song. I'm telling you, my memory's bad today. But,
it's all good.
I say to myself with all this, our history is important, but these people got hold of everybody's history, the whole planet's history, and mixed it all up and messed it all up. That's why they can control us, you know? Because they always say a person that doesn't know their history will not know their present and won't know their future. So we've got to take that into account as well. So we mustn't get too emotionally attached to what's been said here. But everybody's point of view, including our brother from America, because I'm an open-minded person, you know, I look at everything and research everything and take on everything on board. And some of the truths may be in there. I don't know what the truth is. I don't think we all do. But we do have some form of, from our recent history with our parents and our recent grandparents, about what we went through and what we're going through now, you know? So it's all good, you know. We're not going to leave this platform bitter with each other because we're not on the same side. But we are on the same side because we're suffering the same, as you said, Sister Shanice, melanated people, whatever labels may be attached to us, you know, at this moment in time. And what you're doing, the work Galaxy's doing, which is actually doing something to help make sure our futures, our children are not going through this mire, is really, really important, you know. And our sister in the Gambia and everybody else who's doing a bit, and our sister, original, what's her name?
Sister Angie?
Sister Angie, blessed Angie, lovely Angie, yes. And what she's doing and stuff like that. And I hope good health to the person, she said, that may have had a car accident. I hope they're in good stead, and if we can support her, we can support her, you know. But what I'm going to say to everybody, I'm going
to Bible, man. All the talking, I go somewhere else.
Brother Farai, if you can just hold, please. Thank you. Yes, he's still on the phone. You can get to reason with him, but our sister's talking right now, my brother, please.
Stay too long. I'm not going to stay too long, Sister Shanice, because I know other people need to think. I just thought, because I haven't spoken for a while, so I've listened to the show. I just want to say, everybody, as I would say, be at peace with each other, right? But we're all on the same road to recovery, and we must stay together in this war to get ourselves out of this mess, despite what history, peasant or whatever, we're talking about the Bible. There's practical work to be done. And we've got to get on with it, yeah?
Absolutely.
At that, Sister Shanice, I don't know who's annoyed in the background, but if they listen to what I say, I'm not coming here to attack anybody or anything like that.
No, they just wanted to get in with a question to do with the Bible, and I think they were just getting a bit frustrated that they thought the conversation was going...
into that. I'm going to listen to the rest of the show.
Yeah.
And... you continue the good work, Galaxy, yeah?
Yeah, rise up, my sis. Thank you so much. Thank you for the ongoing support as well. Right, I've got lots of text messages here. I'm just going to quickly run through a few. So, brother...
Denise, can I say something while you're going through the texts?
Oh, yeah. No, I've got to read them out. But go ahead. You go ahead, and I'll read them out in a moment after you've spoken.
So, in West Africa, you have a lot of tribes in Ghana, such as the Fanti, the Ashanti, the Ga, the Ewe tribes, and these tribes were taken as slaves to Haiti, to Jamaica, to the Americas. Look at the Haitian Creole language; it's a mixture of Taino, French, also Ewe language from the Ewe people in Ghana, Togoland. Now, when you look at the people in the Ewe people, the Ewe tribe, they have a lot of Hebrew traditions, the customs. They say they left Egypt, they went to Israel, they left Israel, came back into Africa. They say that they are the real Hebrews. You can read a book by Mawuli. He talks about this. You can also read a book by Rabbi Akwete Amar from the Gadangme tribe in Ghana. If you look at the language of the Ewe people, they say, to say good greetings, they say Iboko Nato. The Hebrews say Boko Ta. In Hebrew, the word Hebrew for Hebrew in the Ewe language is Irve or Ivri. In Hebrew, the word Hebrew means Ivri or Ibar or Ibra. To say the word see you later in Hebrew in the Ewe language in Ghana, Togoland, they say Iyi Troho. In Hebrew is Lehi Troort. They say in the beginning in the Ewe language, they say Ber Aleshi. That's how they say in the beginning in the Ewe tongue. In Hebrew, it's Bereshit. The way that they say money in the Ewe language, they say money is called Shika. In Hebrew, money is called Shekel. Why would the people in Togoland and Ghana call money Shika, similar to shekel? They're not using shekels in Ghana. They're using cedis in Ghana. They just like in the Kenya they use shillings. So why would they call money shika, similar to shekel? Now when you say good or well, they say netor. In Hebrew, the word good or well is tov, T-O-V. They say N-T-O-R. To congratulate, you say neza netor, or in Hebrew you say mazel tov. When you look at the word aleph, the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, the Hebrews say aleph, they say alesh. If you look at the symbol of ancient Paleo-Hebrew, we use an ox head, they use a sheep head. When you look at the ancient Paleo-Hebrew, pictograph Hebrew that was written in the walls of Egypt, written also in Israel, is pictograph. It has meanings for each letter, each Hebrew letter. That is the same way that the Ewe people learned their ancient language. In actuality, if you ask them to learn Paleo-Hebrew, they will say it's actually our language. When you ask people in the Kikongo, the Baluba tribe in the Congo, the Congo country, they'll say ancient Hebrew is our language. Our language is ancient Hebrew. And from the Bantus people in the Congo came all the other tribes, such as the Nguni people, the Xhosa, and the Debele, the Zulu, the Swazi, the Lesotho, all these different tribes, even the Shona tribe that built the Great Stone Kingdom of Zimbabwe, the Lemba, the Venda, all these people have ancient Hebrew traditions and customs and oral histories that say they came from Israel. Now, why would all these people be making up this stuff and saying, oh, we came from Israel, we got Hebrew in our language, if it never existed? Why would they have a flood story? Why would they have a story about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? Why would they have a story of the Assyrian invasion, the Babylonian invasion, the fall of the Second Temple, King Solomon's temple? Why would they have all this stuff if it never existed? When they don't have any Torah scrolls, they don't have any stone tablets in their country that they can read from and say, okay, this is the history of our people. They remember this orally, passed down from generation to this day. Not that we're the descendants of the ancient Egyptians, we are descendants of the Israelites. The same bloodline that me and you have in America, in Jamaica, and United Kingdom. Like I keep saying, you read the books Hebrews to Negroes in the movie Hebrews, Wake Up Black America in the movie, and you'll find out the truth about your true identity, that it's not Egyptian, it's the Hebrew Israelites of the Bible.
Can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
The Hebrews, did they go into Egypt?
Well, that's what the Bible says.
How many of them? How many of them went into Egypt?
Joseph went into Egypt first, and then after that...
How many? Do you know how many?
So that was, the Bible says 70 souls went into Egypt.
Right. And how many came out 400 years later? How many does it say came out of Egypt?
The numbers could be anywhere from a million or more than a million.
Right. So a million, if we say between 600,000 and a million came out, so 70 went in, 400 years later, a million came out. So now we're talking about all these tribes scattered around the world millions of years later, or hundreds of years later. You can see how the tribes multiply. You can see how people can take their stories to different parts of the globe. No? Do you not see that?
You're missing. This is